Frederick Art Laskovics. I go by Mark. I was born June 3rd, 1948.
He's number one.
Northside Hospital, Youngstown, Ohio. My nicknames have been Marco Polo, Whitey, and Lasco.
My name, my real name, is Mona Jane.
That's right.
Mona Jane. Actually, my mother's mother named me. She had two sisters, Mona Jane and Abigail.
And Jane Mona.
But I look at it as, which I wanted to christen Stephen's boat, the Mona Jane. I didn't hear back from him. And but I look at it, she must have loved her sister, Mona Jane, because she actually named her daughter Ruth Mona. So I think that that sister, Mona Jane, must have been special to her. But I didn't like it. So I says, I don't like that name, Mom. Okay, change it to Monica. So it's Monica Jane.
Unofficially.
Unofficially, but that's how, through my life, I didn't like it. So
on her
I
driver's
changed
license.
it.
All right, I'm Paul Thomas Laskovics. I was born in Sharon, Pennsylvania on September 23rd, 1953, same as my youngest sister, Faithy. And
What's the theme there, Buck?
well, Paul came from my grandfather. He was Frederick Paul, right?
Yes.
And Mom wanted to call me Thomas, but Dad went down and changed the birth certificate when I was born.
Yes.
I picked up the nickname Buck, and anybody that knows me knows to call me Buck.
Was a buck? Why is that?
Oh, and
No, Joe Pasquarella gave me that nickname. I found out 40 years later where I got that nickname. And Joe Pasquarella said he gave me that nickname because I looked like a buck.
My name is
After the apostle.
Elaine Baya Joan of Arc Laskovics, because that was my confirmation name. No.
Cancel that.
And I was born June 8, 1955.
She got a birthday coming up.
And I went by
Lace. Remember calling you Lace.
Big E and
Big E.
Brows. Because I got a story about
No, that's the brat.
brows.
What's with the brows?
Because when I was a teenager,
oh no,
I wanted to pluck my eyebrows, and I kept plucking them, and they ended up like with just a little knot. And I came down to the kitchen table for dinner, and my dad was across from me, and Mark goes, "What the
No, Mom said that.
The mom goes, "What did you do?" And then Mark goes, "Brows."
I said pups.
Whatever. So, brows is one of them.
Okay.
There was a time I was called Ruthie. Yeah, because Mom told me that she was going to name me Ruth, so my girlfriends called me Ruth.
Dean Frederick Laskovics. They call me Fred Laskovics.
Yeah, they call you Fred.
Oh, okay.
I was born April 21st, 1959. I was named after Dean Martin. My mother liked Dean Martin. Had she known that I drink like Dean Martin.
Yeah.
And that's it. And if it wasn't for me, I wouldn't have saved the Laskovics family name.
Faith and Hope Laskovics. Hope is my confirmation name. Everybody who knows me since I was little calls me Faith Ann. Even Mary called me Faith Ann at the funeral. My father used to call me Gigi. And my Uncle Ed used to call me Tish. I don't know why, he used to write that on the check all the time. Does he not know my name?
But you're able to cash the check
Cash the
anyway.
check anyway.
I was born in 48. I can remember, listen to me,
What?
this is for real.
Joey was born in what?
Joe was born in 49. But I can remember sitting on the couch in Grandma's sunroom, reading the McGuffey Reader, trying to read it, you know, under pressure, dog. No, I had to learn how to read, and if I didn't get the word right, she would slap me on the legs.
Really?
Yeah, and she died when I was 4 years old. So I was working before that. Yeah, that was probably the best thing ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because it got me on the right track early.
Dad was when you had the beads hanging down.
Oh, you had beats. You're like a hippie.
When I was
We had a
younger,
black
high
light.
school, I loved French and
Hey,
beads.
man, she got like stuff painted on the ceiling.
Oh, it was
Got
great.
beads on her door.
Yeah. It was like,
Well, it was my
but try to
bedroom, too.
sneak
Yeah, it's
into the
not gonna
bed.
like this shit.
Try to sneak into the bedroom quietly with beads. You can't do it. No.
Who put the beads up?
She did. You love beads.
I love
We had those
Spencers.
Spencers. You get those posters that were like, we put a black light on them and they glow.
You love
They
this,
said
eh?
love.
It was interesting.
That's right. Mom, there was Mr. and Mrs. Wright lived behind us. They were old. They were like 40 and old.
No, they were old when Mom was old.
And I remember hiding in their bushes. they were on the front porch. And they come to the rail and I'm thinking, please, Lord, hope they don't see me in the bushes here. And Mr. Wright's like, he had to see me, you know, hiding in those bushes there.
I remember like crawling. Remember those hedges we had on the front porch? And I was like hide behind there. And it's like, oh, I'm going to make a run for it and release.
Yeah.
And I'm like crawling. And then it's like, oh, dog doo-doo. You know? Like, oh man, okay. And the best part was one time I caught Danny Nichols.
You caught Danny
I
Nichols?
caught Danny
Damn, you
Nichols.
must have been fast.
No, it was like just out of like
Sure luck.
sure luck. I come around the corner and
mine.
right, and I couldn't believe I was able to catch Danny Nichols and brought him to the
Get in there.
telephone.
Well, we were always getting in fights, and I remember in the Heights there was tiers of there was a hierarchy. There was senior Heights boy, junior Heights boy, and punk. And when you're a punk, you got your daily beat. And I used to come home and tell my mother they're whooping up on me. And my mother would say, don't go outside. Well, you don't go outside for the whole summer. But my mother, she was, she made you stand up for yourself. And the biggest example I know of that is this kid Chirp. They call him Chirp. His name was Rick Mardoff. They called him Chirp because he looked like a bird. He kind of had a beak. And Chirp used to whoop up on my little brother Fred all the time, but he was too young for me to whoop
And
up
Freddie
on.
would come home crying.
Yeah, the Chirp was whooping up on him. And I remember Chirp was walking in the street in front of the house.
No, we had to give
my mother
him the pep talk.
psyching Fred up. Go down there and hit him in the head. You gotta hit him in the face. Yeah, practice. How are you gonna hit him? Yeah.
I'll just hit him.
So Fred was crying, but he went down to the street. He started whooping up on Chirp Mardoff. Yeah. Beat the crap out of him. And he was older than Fred.
His mother calling for him. I remember that.
I remember like going down the steps because we never moved, but we always moved bedrooms.
Oh,
You know?
We got the mattresses and we slid them down.
We stay at the top of the landing and jump behind the steps.
But I had a pair of her high-heeled shoes on. I was going down the steps, and I couldn't stop. I went like through the door out into the bushes. And
I remember smashing your toe underneath the piano
oh, that was bad.
chair. Flipped it over,
Didn't you have
dumped it
your
on
toenails
chair.
ripped off on the door or
And
something?
she had white socks on, and all this blood just starts coming through the white socks. And then you
Hiding, thinking you were
were
hiding.
hiding behind
Thought I
A
was
door.
behind the
a
door.
door.
Safe.
And then I pushed the door as hard as I could, broke your toenails.
Oh, that hurt.
Let's look at those toenails. How they look now? They're all right.
Mine doesn't look good.
Ripped up straight.
Oh man, that
Going down to the picnic grounds, and I go how they had the food side and the pop side, and like you'd run up to the window and you ask for a pop,
And they
you-
gave you one.
yeah, they gave you one. It's like, what do you want? I want grape. They open it on the little thing there. Remember, it was a huge ice thing, the big vats. And you put your hands in the. Can I work the window? Sure, like, work the window. And then the concrete dance floor with the lights, and then all the old people they put the cornmeal down and they dance on that.
Yeah.
And I remember going from one railing, running through them to the other railing, running back through. That has to be like
and the cars were lined up Francis Street and Stevens.
Yeah.
All lined
Well,
up.
all those women must have had their special. The food was great.
Yeah.
They all
Yeah.
cooked. They all
That's
had
'cause they're all
special.
from Central European.
Yeah. And the
You
food
know?
was great. They all had
Delicious.
prepared that food,
Delicious.
you know, and we had a great
Stuffed
time.
cabbage. Oh yes, there was.
My sister's moving down here to North Carolina.
No,
I had my buddies set up to do it, and then they muscled in. The night we
Muscled
moved,
in?
yeah.
She
You
went
saw
up there
free.
to clean your apartment and pack everything for you.
Who? Elaine in Edinburgh?
Yeah.
You were up there?
I don't remember, but
I don't
she
remember
says
that.
so.
Yeah, because I remember her going, he has a stack of newspapers like this. And she had to get rid of.
Well, when I moved down here, I was going to have my buddies help me move, my dad.
Oh, it was so.
And these girls saw a road trip out of it, so they took advantage of it. And then
But
my
the night
dad, that TR6, when you and Elaine were in it, Dad really liked that. He liked his daughters riding in that sports
No,
car.
tell
But
them
the
what we did the night
night
before.
Oh, the night before. I had to say goodbyes to all my Goombas in the bars, and I come home probably about midnight, and
No.
Dad met me at the door and said, "Where are your sisters?"
Not
I said-
that one.
no,
that
I told you I was.
I says, "I don't know where they're at."
Us
He
two.
says, "Go out there and find them." So I went down. What was that?
Quaker Steak.
What was it? What was the other place?
Golly.
No, you were dancing on the dance floor.
Quaker Steak and Lynn.
That wasn't Quaker Steak. It was the other
Oh,
place.
like the Frame House.
Yeah, whatever that thing was.
It's called Tully's, yeah.
We were
So,
having a good time.
They were still
We weren't
partying.
ready to come home.
Shit! We go, shit, there's Buck.
What's Buck doing?
I
We
said,
go there, you're crapping our
"You're
style.
moving tomorrow."
Dad wants you home.
Yeah, Dad wants you home. That was it. Yeah.
Got on the mud.
This is it. We were all hungover the next day.
Yeah.
Huh?
And then
I was ready to
Faith Ann, she didn't have a very good stomach, so it would like.
I'm a
like-
puker.
She's a puker. So she pukes, but she pukes quietly in her quilt. And then Dad goes,
No.
Dad goes, Elaine, what are you doing
No,
up
no,
there?
no. I wasn't. It was
And
in
you
the
blamed it on
bathroom.
me.
I've done that several times though. Elaine's been there, and he goes, Elaine, I'm puking in the toilet. Elaine, is that you? Yeah, Dad.
And it wasn't me.
And he goes, I got the flu, Dad. Okay. And then Elaine goes, that's not me, that's Faith. I go, Dad, I got the flu. Oh, okay, Shushi.
He believed her.
He didn't believe you.
He loved it, Shushi.
He did. did.
We had this bus lady. She was a bitch. Anyway, we had a lot of kids load up on that bus on the Stevenson Heights. So one day she came, and we were just kind of coming out, getting in line to get on. She literally drove away. The kids. So all the parents were in uproar because none of us were standing out there on the corner. That probably loaded, what, 15, 20 kids? And so, of course, they call that bus lady, but that bus lady was mean.
What was her name?
I got a bus story.
Oh, yeah.
When in the Stevenson Heights, rite of passage, the fifth.
Did you do that?
The first to fifth grade went on the elementary bus. The sixth grade to the senior high school went on the middle school and high school bus. But that rite of passage from fifth grade to sixth grade,
kept separate from 7th, 8th,
what the big guys would do, the older boys would do, would take you into the back of the bus, take your pants off, and throw them into the front of the bus where the girls were sitting.
Oh, I remember that.
So anyway, from that fifth grade to sixth grade summer, the big guys were saying, "Yeah, you punk, you're next." And I used to go home and say to my mother,
They call that bullying now.
I used to go home to say to my mother, "You know what they're gonna do? You know what my mother told me? You be the first one to get up there and get your pants taken off and thrown up front and get it over with." And that's what I did. And it was done.
But in the meantime, that summer, I had major diarrhea.